North Carolina, North Carolina.
Funky, funky, yeah, North Carolina. Funky, funky, North Carolina. Funky, funky, North Carolina.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 6 Point Weekend, episode 81, number 2, if it's your first time listening.
To a version 2.
To a version 2.
version 2.
Yeah, you know, we gonna make sure we get it all together eventually. I'm Ebony. Again, to my left is
KP.
And right in front of me, as always.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
And we are back after an exciting week where we had our first away game for NCFC, and we had our first home game of the season. Not our first home game, LOL. Our first game of the season for
I mean, both are
NC
true.
Courage.
Both are true.
Yeah.
It's factual.
It feels a little weird saying it that way, but we're going to make it work.
Yep.
We are here to talk to you about both interesting games that happened over the weekend.
In different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in some ways, yeah.
Some good, some bad, a little bit of in between. But first, we're going to introduce a new segment that Ryan is going to explain to us, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. So, obviously this podcast is 99% North Carolina Football Club and the Courage, right? But just like every actor in the world has 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, and we're the 6 Point Weekend podcast, we're each going to have a segment throughout the podcast that's 6 degrees to North Carolina FC / the Courage. And just so it's a little bit off topic, but somehow connects in some way. We're going to leave it to you guys to figure out how they connect. And if it gets to 6 degrees or more, good on you. So I'm going to go first on this one.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
So my first 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, which is, just fairly less degrees than it would normally take for this, is NC State's win of the ACC championship.
They stuffed the stuff.
Let's go.
I mean, come on. Listen, I'm sure we have some UNC fans listening to this, and that's fine. And God bless your souls. May they rest in hell. But for anyone who votes for the underdog, who roots for the team that never wins, who roots for the team that got gambling canceled in North Carolina, NC State this weekend pulled off an amazing feat of winning
5 games, 5 nights.
in 5 days. And I did not think it was possible. However, I hedged all my bets, my free bets on it just to see what happened. And man, like, what a night. What a night, right? Like, NC State went up early. Carolina came back. There was a whole lot of back and forth. And then, like, somehow NC State wins the ACC championship. It was a great experience. If you were watching it anywhere in Raleigh, I'm sure the crowd was going crazy. I personally was at Rochambeau catching it with some friends.
Yeah.
And Rochambeau is not a sports bar, but it was a sports bar that night.
Every bar was a sports bar
in Raleigh.
by the end of that game.
Yeah.
For sure. So congrats to NC State. ACC tournament starts up soon. We all know this dream is probably over for us. Maybe go to the first round.
I got a bet place that they go to the 6th round of Sweet 16. Okay, so let's just.
Well, I mean, we got to see. They got to get past that where they're starting.
Anything is possible at this point, right? Like the last time they did this, we won't even talk about what happened because if you live in North Carolina, you know. But anyway.
Did you see the stat about the State has won more at the Wizards Arena than the Wizards have? Because we won 5 games. They've only won 4.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
No, I didn't know that, but that's awesome. So that's my 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. Is just a shout out to NC State and like anyone who's been a State fan for any amount of time and has suffered the pain and the anguish that it is of being a State fan and seeing it come around. Like it's rare. None of us should get used to it. They saved Kevin Keats' job for sure.
100%.
That's the only part that I don't like.
I said that too. I was in a group chat, and I said, this is awesome, but probably not great for State in the long run because Kevin Keats is going to get an automatic renewal for a while, and who knows if that's a fucking great idea.
It's not.
But yeah, for sure. But that's one of those things that most people will always remember because it was an amazing way to end that tournament and it not be the norms. Like it's always UNC or Duke, right? And I like Duke, but just to see something like that was pretty excellent. So cool. That's my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Soundbite. But let's get back to the main purpose of this podcast, and that's North Carolina FC and the Courage. So NCFC will go first with those with the boys. Tough weekend, right? Tough first away game.
Tougher
Before
than
we start
expected.
there, let's start with the good news.
Yeah, let's hear it. Oh yes, we talked about this for sure.
The jerseys, because we didn't touch on it last week, and that was a failure on our part.
Yes.
So I apologize.
We have now seen both jerseys.
Yes, in action, and they both look amazing.
Wait, so just a quick survey of the three of us. Home or away is your favorite?
Oh, that's
For
me.
NCFC,
Yeah,
home.
Away.
mine's home as well.
I think I've always loved the navy we do, and I think having the blue on black has made it be really sleek, and with the little gold detail. Right now, there's no front sponsor, so it's just a nice, clean kit right now. But not to say that the away is not great. I mean, they're both bangers, but I think the blue kind of edges it just a little bit.
I do like that it's a red away, and the numbers you can actually read them. But
True.
that black kit.
I love the red away. And we've been asking for this, right, as fans for a while to get a red jersey. I don't like the little design on the front, but that's a personal preference. That's just a personal preference.
I think, honestly, the home kit looks better without a sponsor, but I think if you were to put the right kind of sponsor on the away kit, I think it would complete it more with that pattern.
Yeah. But one thing I'd like to talk about, and maybe I am uneducated on this, but what the hell is up with Adidas's Lego version logo that's on the front of it? That logo, that brand logo is so big.
It is.
They changed that this past year for England and for MLS and a bunch of other stuff. They started doing just the three stripes, and they're a lot bigger for some reason. I don't know why that is.
And it's blocked out. Like, literally when I see it, I think of Legos. Like, I think like NCFC Lego set is what is happening here. Because it's the outline, and like I love it. But if there's anything I could change, it'd just be like put that regular Adidas logo on it that everybody knows and loves. I don't get why they needed to make it this massive freaking. I don't know. I don't understand.
I mean, like KB said, though, it's the same thing because I bought the Sounders kit.
Yeah.
And it looks.
Oh,
huge.
I'm not saying it's specific to NCFC. I'm saying I hate it for all around. I just don't know why.
I
Which
think
is weird,
I think
though.
it's cool because at least on different products. So like I've got like a hat that has it. It looks fine there. Like I don't mind that doesn't the word mark. But you're right. It does kind of look weird on a jersey without one. And I think it's maybe because they're trying to be like Puma and Nike who don't have their names on it. But even they've made returns. Like there have been some Nike kits that goes back to the old school where it has Nike on it.
Yeah, and like as a Liverpool fan, like we do those Nike collab things with LeBron or whoever they're doing them with every year, and there's different Nike stuff on it, and that's fine. I don't know. I was just, and maybe it's a smart thing for them so that people know, oh, you like this jersey a lot. It's obviously
Adidas. Yeah.
So that's fair, but I don't dig that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's a great selection there.
But see, now I'm not going to unthink Legos at this point.
Yeah.
I've not been able to unthink it since I saw them. So welcome to my life. The other big news for NCFC this week is investors, right? NCFC announced 3 investors this week. We've seen this with the Courage, right? Like Capital Broadcasting, Naomi Osaka, Torrey Holt, John Kane. A lot of different people have come in to be investors in the Courage. We have never really seen that in NCFC.
No.
Right? And we announced 3 partial investors, Paul Shore, David Anderson, who, David, we see you own 27 McDonald's. You can holler at Oak City supporters anytime for a sponsorship deal. We love it. Go for it.
Go for it.
Bring
We're
it
here
in.
for it.
And Damian Mills, who owns a bunch of car dealerships. We'd also take cars.
We are not picky.
A car.
I don't know how that applies to a tailgate, but
You use the car that he gives us to pull the trailer to the top.
yeah, well, that's a town of K.
I don't know. I'm making things up. Give me a car.
Yeah. But no, that's massive,
That is massive.
right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen a ton of investment in the Courage. Obviously, get that they are top division. They have, over the course of the whole time they've been here, won championships. Also had World Cup winners on the team. Obviously, it's a bigger platform. Totally get it. But you know, NCFC was here. Was obviously the Railhawks and Steve Malik bottom. They've been around for a while. Haven't really seen that. So this is to me a big win.
Yeah.
No, and I think this is good because I think back to kind of how the trajectory of the club has been. Like the rebrand happened, the MLS bid happened, then that didn't happen, and we had COVID and going down leagues and all this other had a lot of ups and downs, and to be back in the championship and then also having new investment, like I feel like it's like we're laying the groundwork to have really good long-term longevity with the club.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Steve Malik would mind us saying, he said in front of quite a few people at the end of last season that we're not going up to the championship to just be in the championship.
Right.
We're going up into the championship to be competitive and to be a team that can win titles, right? And you need investment to do that.
Oh yeah,
Right. And
at any level, you need some kind of investment.
Yeah, you need good investment to do that. And if this helps that, then
Hell yeah.
all about it. Cool. Well, let's break into the game, right? So let's break into the game, NCFC's game on Saturday, which was
It was a game.
It was something.
soccer
It
was
was
played.
something.
So like first off, I guess we'll go into let's start with the major changes that were made going into this.
Yeah.
The lineup.
So in the lineup, there were 6 changes. Let's talk about them a little bit.
And just to break down, this is the second game of the season.
Yes.
And we changed 6 players after drawing 0-0, which I want to talk about why after we finish this part, or why we think. But 6 players out of 11 in the starting lineup after what we all thought was a great draw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, continue, Ebony, please.
Let's go through it. So in the lineup, we changed our goalie.
Yep, so Jake McGuire was out and Antonio Carrera came in, a younger player that we talked about last week.
On the back line, we left in Paco and Bryce.
Yep, so 2 of 3.
And then Pelayo.
Yep, so Adrian Pelayo, who's a 17-year-old, just for the record, a 17-year-old kid that we got from Portland's Timbers Youth, first professional start, is put in place of Lamar Batista, right?
In the midfield, only Colin stayed.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Colin Martin, who got an assist to his credit,
Yes.
and I thought played really well,
Yes.
is the only person from the first game of the 4-person midfield that started. And I'm sounding a little bit riled up about it. I'm not going to try to get riled up because I'm sure there's a plan.
Right.
Not one that I get yet. But replacing 3 of the 4. But so then, so to bring on that, like Ezra Armstrong, Raheem Somersault, Rafa Menzingen were all replaced by Nelson Flores Blanco, which I didn't hate. Love Nelson. But traditionally he's been
A back line.
yeah, he's been a left back.
Yeah.
So a little weird. But we talked about it last week. They seem to be bombing forth and back on the right. And I think, Ebony, you brought it up last week that they seem like kind of wingers, you know, going back and forth. So
It looks like it goes from like a 3-back to a 5-back
Yep.
really quick.
Yep. So Nelson Flores Blanco, Mikey Maldonado. Why do I say his name?
Maldonado.
Maldonado.
And Shaft Brewer got his first start for us. So we went from that, and like you said, Colin Martin, the only one that stayed, right? And then up front is probably the least changes of all of it, where Perez and DaCosta started again, but Olex Anderson was replaced by Evan Conway.
Yes.
So again, second game of the season, 6 changes.
With a new formation,
Yeah.
which we talked about last time as well.
Yeah. Like we talked about last week, it was a 3-back, kind of a 3 up front, 5 in the middle, 2 kind of bombing back and forth, right?
Yep.
Which I do think probably favors Nelson more than last week, but I don't know. But so,
Yeah.
so I guess the first question would be, why do we think that was?
My theory is there's going to be a lot of games. And, like, this league is very, like, if you look at our schedule, there's a lot of Wednesday games,
Yep.
Friday games, obviously Saturday, but, like, there's a lot of midweek stuff happening. There's players that are going to be gone on international duty because, like, Nelson has a game for El Salvador, like, either this week or next week.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is the time for all
Somersault,
those.
Yeah, like all of these players are in and out of their club with their country. So I think it's more of like hey, anybody can start on this team on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be making those adjustments now because it's going to get to towards the end of the season, especially for like if any of these guys that are playing in like Nations League,
Mm-hmm.
But there's
or anything like
only
that.
like 3 of them. 4 of them. Raheem
Is it only-
Summersall, Flores,
Olex?
Oleg.
Blanco, Olex.
Is there no others?
I don't know. Who
Unless some of the
else?
new guys are.
Servania with St. Kitts, I believe.
think so.
But there, but
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you could
that's-
also,
that's
but
right. Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta
Not
also
Raheem
remember.
Summersall. That's why.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, players are coming into this club because they've seen the success of getting into your national team. So,
Yep.
And,
we
and
could
I
see
think,
more.
as it
and I
goes
think
on,
that like the point behind bringing in some of the younger guys, like the one like Adrian that started this weekend. He's 17 years old. He's a Mexican international in the youth program.
Yep.
So maybe. Okay, KP, what are you thinking about that?
I think another thing to think about is feeling out the new league kind of thing. You know, I think we might have expected to have the same formation or lineup as last week, but I think now is the time to experiment because, again, like it's our first season back in the championship, and obviously we'd love to be in a playoff spot by the end of it, even though it's only our first. I think that's a good ambition, but I think right now is the time to experiment because it's a whole new set of players, a whole new set of competition. So why not do it now? Now, I mean, that doesn't mean that it's going to work.
Yeah.
as it clearly showed this weekend, but who knows? Maybe the same lineup will show up for Tampa and play really well. But I do think it's part of the experimentation process, and that it's just because we're early into the championship again.
Yeah, so I had 2 kind of trains of thought on this, right? And the first one was, and this is me going into John Bradford, according to Foot Mob, Jake Bradford's mind.
Oh yeah.
So Foot Mob, come on, man, change his name. He won a championship last year. Put some respect on John Bradford. His name ain't Jake, or Jack, I think is what it said. But my thought, if I was in my, okay, what is John Bradford thinking here? Was 1, I got a lot of players, and I need to see who performs, right? And so I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna see who I have quite a few spots that I'm trying to figure out where people fit, and I'm going to change it up this and see like what this looks like. Or the other option is I really didn't like what I saw out of some people in the first game, which I don't actually think that's why, because I don't think there was anything to be embarrassed about in the first game.
No.
Except for possession. I agreed that possession was not great. But otherwise, which, to be fair, we did go from low 30s possession to 48% possession, so we were still on the negative side of it, but by 2%. So that's great. It's a big change. So I don't know if it was, like I said, either I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to give everybody an opportunity and see what falls, or I didn't like what I saw. Those were my 2 takeaways from that.
Yeah.
I think what will be very telling is this weekend.
Yes.
So you've had a game where you've now played starting 17 players.
Which is kind of wild to say out
It
loud,
is.
honestly.
You played not just subbing in, it's more like 23, I think.
Yeah.
But as far as players that have been on the field, you've started 17 different players. So what do you do this weekend? And there is the international break, but I think we're only losing 2, right? We're losing
Summersall and Nelson.
Is it Summersall or is it
Raheem, yeah.
Olex?
No, it's
Okay,
Raheem.
cool. So we're losing those 2. But in reality, we'll see. I think outside of those 2, maybe this is the week we would see that. I don't know. And we'll get into next week's game in a minute. It's coming up on Saturday. But let's do a quick game rundown of just the way the game went. So started out, first away game of the year. Loudon scored in the 23rd minute to go up. We answered back with an assist from Colin Martin to Mikey
Mikey Maldonado.
I'm just gonna actually press.
Mikey M.
I'm going to. I don't know why I can't ever say it when I read it. I'm just gonna make a button that I can press that says his last name. I'll say Mikey, and then Maldonado. Will just play. So Mikey Maldonado scored in the 23rd. Going to halftime, 1-1.
Yep.
Looking. I think at that point possession was pretty much even. we definitely had the lion's share of the chances going into halftime.
Yes.
Yeah, at halftime it was 53% Loudon,
Okay.
47% NCFC with possession.
So fairly even, right?
Yeah.
Second half comes in, we sub out Shaft, which we got to come up with a great chant for that.
Club
man.
legend.
Yeah, Shaft.
Already.
He's played like 68 minutes for the club and already a legend because his name is Shaft. We sub him out for Rafa. Loudon immediately scores. Not Rafa's fault, by the way.
No,
I say
no.
it like that, not at all. We then sub in Raheem Summersall for Colin Martin, and we put in Olex Anderson for Evan Conway. Loudon made a boatload of subs. I think all of their subs at one point. And one of their players who subbed in, whose name I cannot pronounce, and I'm not going to even butcher it and kill it, scores immediately, and then they scored again in the 85th minute to wrap it up for Loudon. It ended 3-1. Again, like we said, possession was almost basically even. 2% of possession is whatever. It's 52-48. That's decent.
That's pretty good.
Besides, yep. Some big stats I would say from this is Loudon had, when you look at big chances missed on the stat sheet, Loudon had 0. They missed none of their big chances.
They made them.
had 3 big chances. They scored all of them.
Yep.
We had 4 that we missed. So that's a pretty big miss there. We totaled 12 shots, only a couple on target. 7 of those were outside the box, and 4 of those came from the subs. Right?
Yes.
We were blasting from behind the box.
We absolutely
not
were.
successfully, but we were blasting from outside the box. I don't know. What do you guys takeaways? What went wrong? What went right? Like, what were you surprised by? What do you guys think?
I think what went wrong was there was no consistency. Like,
In
it's,
what way?
Lack of cohesion.
Yeah, like it's already hard. It's your second game of the season, your first one away.
Yep.
And then you make 6 changes, and then you make even more changes as you sub on, and no one's played with each other
In a league game, for sure.
right for that long. So I think they were missing that cohesion.
Yeah.
I think if they can put together a lineup that is like semi-consistent over the next 2 games. So, and this is a hard game we have coming up with the Rowdies.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll get into that in a second.
yeah,
For sure.
but it's like something's got to stay the same, and it sounds like Colin is the thing that's going to stay the same right now. But
Maybe.
who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I think that in this kind of experimenting phase, whatever the cause of it is that's why we're seeing this lack
Isn't
of
that preseason is for, though?
yes, but yes.
I'm not. And again, I'm
mean-
just throwing it out there. We said last week, speculating before the first game is crazy. Speculating before the second game is kind of crazy. Like, so granted, this is all out there.
We're at that point where we can still be crazy speculating.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought that was preseason. I don't know.
I guess my main question is, what did we like about the changes? Because if we can say what we liked about the changes, we can really start to pinpoint what we want to see.
Yeah.
Well, KP, I want to go back to you real quickly, though. What else did you have mainly about the game what are your takeaways?
So I will say that regardless of the fact that we did whiff our chances, I did like that we were taking chances. It's kind of that in the kind of flip side of making these changes and the experimentation is like our guys were kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. Olex had a couple chances that were pretty good. We had some that were
Granted, he was only on the field for like 25 minutes.
Right.
But yeah, for sure.
But and we had a couple in the second half where it was like just wide of the bar. One of Olex's hit the bar. So I mean, I think it's like I don't know. It sucks to have not converted any of those, but at the same time, like we were taking the chances. So I think that like in trying to find something when we're playing with less possession as well, maybe not so bad because we weren't in. Like if we had been like 70% possession and we were wasting shots, that would be dumb. But if we're behind in possession and we're taking shots, maybe for game 2, I don't think that's too bad.
I'll also add though, there was a couple because I didn't get to watch the full game. Full transparency, I got to watch the first half, and in that first half, there were a lot of chances that we took that like really should have been converted, and we just were wide of the box, or his header was just wide, or right over the bar, and I'm like, you like I know it's your second game playing with some of these players,
for sure,
but you're also professional. and I want to see you hit the back of the net.
So I'm not sure if I don't know if the recording picked this up. I'm not sure if my Chihuahua outside the door was agreeing or disagreeing with KP, but I agree with KP in that it's so early goings. It's so many lineup changes. It's hard to tell. For me, we held our own for the most part of the game.
Right.
I'm not trying to pick on Conway,
But
Conway had two, a header and a shot, where he had wide open frame, and not on target.
he skied one of
Not
them.
on target, and they were both very close. And that could be nerves. That could be
Right.
I don't know, like what that was. It was definitely a wild two misses, like a wild two, to where both times when he went in, I went, bam, that's in. To where, in the other aspect of it, Loudon's first goal, the guy dives for a header. He totally mishits it.
Oh, yeah.
Goes into the turf and then somehow bounces directly over our goalie's head and goes in, right? And it's just a tale of those two goals, right? Loudon doesn't score that one. We score first. Conway scores that one. We're up 2-0.
Right.
Like off of two just random headers that just went. One was crazy. One was just way wide. He also had another shot later, similar before he got subbed out. That was the same thing where he had the whole half the net. And you know, again, that happens.
Yeah.
That will be, I think it will be a judge of how much faith that the team has in him if he continues to start or starts more, to where that's just in practice he's nailing all these, right? Or he's not, you know, and seeing what happens. But that was definitely two moments where I was like, I already stood up and started celebrating, and then they were in the crowd. The balls were in the
Crowd is very nice to whatever was happening at Segra for that game. But
for sure. Before we go into what's next for NCFC, any other thoughts?
I mean, I think we've touched on it pretty well. Again, it's early. There's a lot of experimenting going on.
Yep.
And I think that we now have two really good samples of going against the runners-up, Beasts of the East, that kind of stuff, and then going and having our first road game and it being a dud.
Yep.
But now is the real test. Like, now we've kind of gone on both ends of the spectrum, if anything. So now we're back to fighting another tough championship side.
Yeah, again, I think what we see from a lineup this week will be interesting, an interesting story, because we are playing Tampa Bay this weekend. Tampa Bay is a team we have a lot of history with.
Oh, yes.
Not just from being in the championship before, but from being the NASL as well. Tampa Bay is one of the older, more historic teams in U.S. soccer, if we're being real. They were part of that whole Pele, Georgie Best, NASL original days, and they're going to be tough. Just to give you a quick rundown of this weekend, obviously, before we say anything else, NCFC's at home this weekend. Please come out if you're listening to this. Oak City supporters are going to be tailgating starting at 5. Love to have you there. Game starts at 7. Love to have you join Oak City. Go to oakcitysupporters.com if you'd like to join. We have a fucking sick scarf, which KP over here designed after me and Ebony and some other members of Oak City leadership very ugly sketched it out on a napkin in a bar and sent it to KP, and he made it. It's sick. It's a great scarf. You get that if you join Oak City supporters. Please do that. But let's talk about Tampa Bay real quick. Tampa Bay, we talked about how Charleston technically was second in the league last year because they lost in the final.
Right.
But if you look at second in the East off of the whole season last year, that was Tampa Bay.
That's Tampa.
Tampa Bay has been a picture of consistency in the championship for a number of years.
Absolutely.
And have consistently put money in and brought in players. Again, last year they were finished second in the East. They scored the most goals in the East last season. They tied with the people who finished first. I think it was Pittsburgh last year. Yeah, Pittsburgh finished first in the East last year with a plus 21 goal differential. They can score goals. They can defend. I would like to say, like, what is the area you have to look out on the field for Tampa Bay? It's the whole fucking
It's the
field.
team.
It's the whole field.
You have to look out for Tampa Bay. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, they have former NCFC player Aaron Guillen. He's one of their kind of staple center backs.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Well, he's been
He's back.
he's been a consistent player for Tampa Bay since he left us. They also have Raleigh native Forrest Lassa, who is also on their back line, who had stints with a number of teams, Charleston, FC Cincinnati. He's been down in Tampa Bay for a while. We thought we were going to get him at one point. We didn't end up getting him. We thought maybe we'd get a hometown discount. He's from Raleigh. Didn't happen.
Nope.
I think they're two of the top center backs in the league totally. Up front, they have Cal Jennings, who had 19 goals last year.
Which is
Yep, and they have Manuel Ortega, I think is how you say his name. He had 15 goals last year. They are dangerous up front and in the back. And this is one that makes me nervous. When I looked at the first 3 weeks, Charleston I thought was nervous. I didn't really think Loudon was going to make me that nervous. Obviously, I was wrong. But Tampa makes me damn nervous.
Yeah, I think now thinking about just how the past 2 games have gone and now thinking about the overall record of last year, I feel like we should have probably been more cautious about Tampa, or we should be more cautious about Tampa at the same time. But I mean, it's their game, so it's like we're still finding our bearings, but we're going to be hosting them at home, but also they're really good. So, and just for fun on the head-to-head and foot mob, and this is the past 17 matchups, and this actually goes back pretty far, like back to NASL in 2013. Like, so in the 17 matches we've played them previously, we've won 7. They've won 6 and we've drawn 4. So like historically, again, like you said, lots of history. Like we've been neck and neck with this team in different leagues now. But I don't know how well that's going to stack up on Saturday, to be honest.
It's an uphill fucking battle.
Yeah.
Because it's a team that's been established and stayed mainly together. They've made some changes, but
Right.
stayed pretty together over the past few years. Coming here, even if you look at the betting odds, which believe them or not, for lower league soccer, but we're at home the underdog as a plus 160 favorite. It's 160 underdog, excuse me. So again, it's a tough first part of the season for sure. And even if we don't get a single damn point out of this game, I would like to see like what has been taken from the last 2 games. Mikey showed that he should be on the pitch, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
I think Rafa has shown he needs to be on the pitch.
Yes.
I think that I get the strategy. There's been a strategy off and on with Olex Anderson of start him and sub him early or bring him in at the end. I don't know what's right on that, but he has to be a player. Like he has to be a major fixture in this.
I'd like to see him, whichever one he is, whether he starts or comes in. I would love to see him play a higher percentage of the game than he has the past 2 games, if that's possible.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Predictions?
Yeah, I guess predictions.
Predictions. I'm gonna go 3-1 Tampa.
Wow. Okay. I guess we're off of it was our first episode and we're trying to be super positive.
Now it's like,
and again, I don't think that's a negative pick. I think that's just the reality of
that's a realistic
Yeah.
pick.
I hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
KB.
I'm gonna say a 2-2 draw.
A 2-2 draw. Okay. When you look at them, Tampa from last year, they kind of averaged about a goal more a game than the team that they were playing. I think that it's a fair assumption to say 2-1 Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be fucking wrong. Like I want to.
Oh yeah.
I think we all do. Like I want to be wrong.
I want a point at least.
Yeah, for sure. It would be great to not leave this game again, just with people coming into the stadium to have some excitement, to have some goals. I'd love to have a goal, but again, they're just a great team, and so and we're still trying to figure it out. And that's fair. That is fair for us to be
that's
trying
just
to
the
figure this out.
realistic view of both teams.
Yeah, realistically, like we should be trying to figure it out with all the changes, with all the people we brought in, going up a league. If we win this game, let's pop some champagne. but realistically, like it's it's a tough task.
Realistically, if it's a loss and it's not a blowout loss, then it's fine. Now, if it was like 6-1, it's like, oh God, that's a lot. That's way worse than we thought it would be.
Yeah. I think the main goal from this game should be more cohesion.
I want to see a better idea of what our main lineup is going to start to look like in this game.
For sure.
Because we've had two completely different lineups to kind of experiment with that. And we're only going to be missing 2 people on international duty. So more chances to figure out what that is. And then also, I would love to see better possession percentages. And then, like, if we are taking chances, instead of missing 4 shots, like if we have like an even number of shots on goal and we only miss like less than half, like that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, the chances, the thing I would take away from that last game is the chances were there. We just didn't capitalize on them. So
and now maybe they can.
That game plan seems to work.
Yes.
And so that's good. It's just we didn't capitalize on the chances. So, yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. Anything else before we switch from NCFC that you guys want to talk about?
Let's hope we're wrong about not winning.
Let's be fucking wrong. Somebody
Let's be wrong.
Old Bobby, who's since moved on from North Carolina to another state, did tweet us right before we started recording and said, I'm not ever trusting your betting picks, which is completely fair.
Yeah.
That's not understood. Get it. We're going to try to be more realistic and not just so optimistic in certain situations. So anyway, cool. We'll be right back with Courage.
North Carolina, North Carolina.
I was very off and just corrected that the person who wrote in saying they shouldn't trust our betting picks was not who I said it was actually Art. My bad, Art. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Now he definitely shouldn't trust you on anything.
You shouldn't trust me on betting picks or giving correct shout-outs. But for our second 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, we're going to pass this off to KP now.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
All right, so for my off topic, we're going to talk about the Hurricanes, who, again, another exciting team for the 919. They are currently second in the Metro. They are only 2 points behind New York Rangers right now. Yep. It's been real close. In years past, it was nice to win divisions and stuff. They won 3 in a row, but honestly, it's like just now everyone's fighting for what everyone wants to be their right position for playoffs. At least in the East, in the wild card spots, nobody wants to hold on to them. It's like Tampa, Detroit, Washington. The Islanders keep playing musical chairs. Who wants to actually have that spot?
The fact that the Capitals are even a part of the conversation,
yeah,
is hilarious.
They're there. I mean, they're barely there, but they're there. But yeah, the Canes have a chance to. I mean, I think at this point it's safe to say that they're going to make the playoffs. I could be wrong, but I don't see any reason why not. And then it's just a matter of, are they going to do the damn thing this time? They've swung big on some offseason stuff, bringing in Getzel, bringing in, Orlov, bringing in Kuznetsov. I mean, Kuznetsov.
Yep. All fair. I like that.
I promise that was intentional.
Yeah. I don't care if it was or not. That was good.
But anyway, which it is weird when he did finally score at home and he did the Eagle. I'm not gonna lie, I really have never ever liked him, and I was like, I need to find some tweets to delete because that was awesome.
Yeah, definitely gotta go. It's different being it's for any sporting situation. It is different being on the opposite end of a celebration when it's for you, when you've hated it for so long.
Yep. I mean, he even like mentioned something in one of his early pods of like, or interviews with something along the lines of like, now I know what it's like on the other side of hell. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm glad that's what y'all think of us.
I saw that too. And I mean, and the Canes have been no slouch in the past 4 games. They scored 4 against the Panthers, 5 against the Maple Leafs, 7 against the Senators, and 4 against the Islanders.
Yeah.
So it has been like a drastic uptick as far as goals and how things have happened since that. You know, they scored a bunch the first game those 2 guys came in, and then they had that stinker at home to the Rangers, which was what it was. But since then...
But honestly, and I will say this, like, it was a stinker, but it was 1 goal, and it was convincing enough. Like, that looked like a playoff game for both of them. And, like, I think it could have gone either way, and just because the Canes lost, they didn't look bad. And I think if the Rangers had lost, you could argue that they had a great game, too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was
You were upset by the result.
I was at I was more because I was at the game and there's so many damn Rangers fans.
Oh, yeah.
there. And Ebony's a Rangers fan, so it's hard for me to. I'm not even trying to look at her during this part.
And
I'm just silent over here.
She's just silent
I'm
over here,
chilling.
which is smart.
I'm having a great time.
I will give one little nugget. If you guys aren't already following Kane's stats on Twitter, he's a hilarious guy and he posts a lot of cute dog pictures too. But he has a lot of random stats that come in.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, the Canes are now this season 42-3-3 in the regular season with games that Seth Jarvis has scored a goal.
There you go.
What a guy! Like,
Yeah.
I think he could be a big pivotal part of the postseason this year.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
All right, so it's that point of the night where we talk about what went really well this week, and that was the NC Courage's first game of the season, a 5-1 win over the Houston Dash. Can you guys take us through starting lineup, surprises, what it was?
There was no real big surprise. Well, my biggest surprise was Feely starting, but Murphy in goal, Ryan Williams, Kaylee Kurtz, Amelia Berkeley, Feely starting. Newcomer, Maria Sanchez in the midfield with O'Sullivan and Narumi, with Tyler Lucy, Pinto, and Hopkins up top. Wasn't a bad day.
No. Well, and honestly, interestingly enough, the both teams kind of reflected their start. I think, was it 8 minutes in when that penalty happened? I mean, it's pretty early.
It was really early.
But it was only 1-0 at the half. Like, you were like, oh, this is a decent game. I feel like, the Dash could come back, which they did. Sort of, yeah. No, let's we can get into it. So the penalty was interesting. Yes.
Because they missed it on the broadcast.
Yep.
If you didn't see, I was there, but it literally rolled down the player's arm.
Humble brag from Ebony.
Humble brag. Oh yeah, I was at the game.
They rolled down the player's arm, and everyone's just like standing there, and we're like, penalty?
Question mark?
And the ref's like, nah. And the broadcast team's like, why is everybody so angry? And then they're like, ref finally calls the penalty, and they're like, oh, I guess it was a handball. I'm like,
yeah.
Malia steps up, takes that one. A very interesting point in the game when O'Sullivan got a yellow, but it was after the VAR check.
Right.
So I didn't know you could VAR for a yellow.
I didn't either. Like we were talking about before the podcast started. Isn't it usually, it's like reds, offsides, goals?
So my question for this, because I didn't see this part, was it they called a foul?
They called the foul.
And they VAR'd it.
And then so they called the foul and VAR and went to VAR for reckless challenge, which I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
It was definitely a high foot in a not great place for the player to get kicked.
Okay.
But that's normally like, if you're going to VAR that and you take that long, we assume you're going to pull out a red card.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ref comes back and pulls out a yellow.
It's like, oh.
Interesting.
I don't think you can, you can't do that, but whatever.
I saw NASL refs call offside on a throw-in one time. So nothing surprises me with these leagues.
Yeah, true. But we go in 1-0 at half. Come back out. Haley Hopkins scores a very, very good goal.
Yep.
Beats goes around the player through their legs straight into the bottom corner. 2-0. KK with an own goal in the 65th. Makes it 2-1. So technically, we scored all the goals this week.
That's fair. Yeah, that's nice.
So, you know what? I'm going to count it. Bianca St. George comes on for her debut in the 74th and scores in the 77th to make it 3-1. And then
Immediate
in the
impact.
84th to make it 4-1.
Not a bad debut.
To add to that, for both of those, was how good Monaco was for that. Because for Bianca's goal, it was a 1-2-1, like back and forth between the two of them. So, Monaco gets it, passes it to Bianca. Bianca runs it a little bit, passes it to Monaco, and she crosses it in and immediately gets it to her. And then for that fourth goal as well, I didn't catch who it was that chipped it, but someone chipped it from about half to where the box was. Monaco gets it. She's got two defenders around her and really she kind of stumbles a little, but she sustains the ball to make sure there's enough time for other players to come up.
Yep.
Passes it, and boom, we've got another goal.
And then Weatherholt comes in for her debut as well with in the 74th, and then scores in the 99th minute to make it 5-1. I don't know why there was 12 minutes.
I don't know why there was
of
12
stoppage.
minutes.
It was divine intervention to get us to 5 goals for Sam Lewis's Ring of Honor.
Yep, and then
Perfect.
definitely forgot about that. Sam Lewis was inducted into the new Courage Ring of Honor.
Which is essentially a Hall of Fame
Yeah.
for your team. Yeah, for sure.
Very deserved for her. So
Can't think of a good one, a better one to start off with.
Right.
You know.
So yeah, it was a good game, a fun game. If you like goals, this was the one to do it. If you like goals for the Courage, I should say, this was the one to do it, because there were other games that actually had more goals from the NWSL over the weekend. But
we had our
still
fair
fun.
share. We had to play along. We wanted
contributed.
goals.
So yeah, KP, let's talk about. KP and Ryan, let's talk about what we liked about this game.
I was just say real quickly, I like the divine intervention of scoring 5 goals for number 5 of the NCFs of the NC Courage, because again, Sam Lewis came in when we started, was a staple through all of that, was one of the people who established this team when they came here.
Yes.
Right? Western New York Flash had just won a championship, obviously, when the Courage came in. But the success for the first few years of the Courage when they came to North Carolina was solely based on that core coming in, right? And those people that came in and made, didn't make us an expansion team, made us a team that went to a championship game our first year, which we lost to the Thorns, but still like made us super relevant in the area, made us super relevant in the media locally, made us super relevant as far as people caring. And, obviously big accolades outside of the Courage for Sammy Mewis too. I couldn't watch one of the World Cup games while I was in England, which was silly. But so I had to watch the broadcast that Sam Mewis did as a reaction with Raj from Men in Blazers, and just seeing like her at that level and doing those different things has been awesome, to see. And so I thought that like it was this crazy amount of like, okay, yes, her number's number 5. You could realistically get that many goals in a game. First game of the season, getting that many goals, the crowd in the honor of that, her joining kind of the new
Ring of Honor.
Yeah, Ring of Honor is just massive, and that's one of those things that you can't predict. You can't really you can't plan it. It happens, and it's just really fucking cool. And I thought that was awesome.
I thought it was super fitting. I'd have to say I really enjoyed how much of a full team effort game it was. I mean, Bianca St. George, huge play. The fact that she was able to make an immediate impact upon coming in, and then also being involved with another goal. I mean, and then having another debutante at the end of the game come in and score. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, it was an exciting game. I think that, I don't know, almost in the same realm of like scoring 5 for Sam Mewis. Like, it was a night when everyone was scoring a bunch of goals, and we were just like, you know what? We're part of that vibe. We're part of the mixture right now. So I think just overall, like, it was a great, strong lineup. Everyone contributed really strongly, and I think that we won't see a lot of changes after this, because that was really good.
Yeah, I definitely like that. There's a lot of goals coming from a lot of places. Playmakers are doing their things. Maria Sanchez looked really good, playing with O'Sullivan and Marumi, Pinto, Lucy. Everybody was just in the attack. And I don't really know if the Dash were ready for whatever we had. Actually,
it would seem not.
Actually, I was going to say, the coach,
I don't think they were.
The coach even admitted, he was like, we didn't have a great game plan. I'm like, what game plan did you have that didn't include marking Ashley Sanchez? I'm sorry, I almost said Maria Sanchez. What game plan did you have that did not include marking Ashley Sanchez? Because that's insane.
And they probably also didn't anticipate Murphy making the insane saves that she had. There were a couple moments that the Dash definitely could have had a good scoring chance, but we had a wall that prevented that.
Yeah, we did a really good job of, like, I don't want to say killing their attack, but like we never let it get that far.
It was never
because-
a real danger.
You're right, because Ordonez was not really a factor.
Nope.
Maria Sanchez was not really a factor until it came down to that free kick, and she put in a wicked ball, which is how KK scored the own goal. But at that point, it was like
It just opened up for us after that.
yeah, we were like pissed that we gave up a goal. So then all of a sudden we go on the attack and we score 3 more.
Yeah.
No, why not?
So everybody gets involved. And I love that the new players are instantly making an impact.
Yeah, I don't want to say I was surprised to see Sanchez starting because obviously she's the kind of player you bring in. That's a big name, big move, and you have to start her. But sometimes with the first game of a season, even with a star, maybe you don't start them. But I was happy to see that she got the start, and it was good to see her in Courage colors. Which, circling back to the start of the NCFC conversation, the new kits look really, really good on broadcast. For me, I bought the pink one because I'm, at least on me physically, I don't like big patterns, but seeing the players and fans wearing the triangle kit, I think is what they're calling it, I really like it.
I don't know what they're calling it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I saw it was like a tribute to the triangle.
Yeah,
There's some level of tribute to it.
The explainer thing was obviously puff piece thing, whatever. But yes, the triangles make the triangle, blah blah.
But it was cool. It's cool.
But
I like the
still a cool
color.
kit. I love the kit.
I love the red inclusion on it as well.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm
You're
I
getting
made a
all 4
deal.
kits, so it doesn't
I have
matter.
to get all 4 kits. I made a deal, so I'm getting all 4 kits. But it was a good night. I had a lot of fun. So hopefully they can take this into Utah.
Anything you didn't like?
Yeah, I was about to say, I was looking at the show notes and it was what went wrong, and the only comment was not a lot. So I think that's very fair based on that. But yeah, I'd love to hear. I echo that comment. Not a lot. Not a lot went wrong when you win 5-1.
The only bad thing was the own goal, but like, there's not a lot she could have done there because it literally, Maria Sanchez.
It was a crowded box.
It was very crowded, and all of a sudden it was just like a lot of blue shirts there that wasn't prepared for that.
No,
because they thought that more Houston players would actually crash the box, and all of a sudden it was just bouncing off KK and right into the net. It looked weird because it's like, so not only did you not think to mark one of the best players in midfield in Ashley Sanchez, none of your players thought that scoring goals mattered because none of them.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, that's a fair assessment of how that moment
Honestly,
was.
because
To be honest,
like all the whatever ugly color orange that was, shirt stopped.
Real Hawks orange.
Oh God! There's
it's
somebody.
it's
there's
not
somebody's
even that
ears that are
orange.
perking
Like
up
it was
right
like
now.
less orange.
It was so bad. And all of a sudden it was almost like it was a Courage corner because that's how many blue shirts were around the ball for it to bounce off of and go into the net.
I think if there's one other thing, I know this was, some people were discussing it, and I think even Coach mentioned it, was talking about like how it was surprisingly not a sold out crowd. I mean, it was a good crowd, but I think that's a very long conversation. That could be its own episode in and of itself. But I think part of it's like it's building back up. There's a lot of changes that have gone over the past couple of years, and I think that they're building towards something.
The world is very different than
the world is very different, and this team is very different than the days when we were winning championships and had most of the U.S. women's national team in our team.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot to be excited about, and kind of like we said that we're hoping for goals on Saturday for NCFC to help, kind of generate more excitement about the championship.
Yeah.
I think for the Courage, like banging in 5 goals on your first home game of the season, hopefully that's exciting.
Could we also talk about the fact that, okay, I got the message of, yeah, it's great that we had the biggest home opener ever, which 5,800 is what it was, I
Yes,
think.
Yeah.
58-38.
But can we also just say, NC State versus UNC was at the same time in the
Which
ACC championship.
is very, very easy to glaze over. I forgot about that because I was watching them simultaneously.
Yeah, I was watching on my phone watching in the sense that I'm not allowed to watch when NC State's playing well because then they lose. But
Right.
I was
But
watching.
the thing about this is that the Courage have been here for what, 7
2017.
I don't remember. I was there the day that Roy Cooper, I guess, yeah, it's been in the last 8 years because Roy Cooper announced them coming.
Yeah.
And I was there. It had snowed, and they did the thing at the press conference at Lake Med, and I went, and when he announced it. And so, obviously, in the last 8 years, because he's about to be out of 2 terms. But I don't think you can understate. And if you do, and if you are not understanding this, I don't know if you haven't lived here for a while or if you just don't get it. But let's be real. The biggest thing in North Carolina, in this part of North Carolina, is college basketball.
Oh, without a doubt. Even the Canes have admitted that too.
Yeah.
They're second to basketball.
It's not to me. Like, I love soccer and I love hockey, and those are my things. And I am a bandwagoner for college basketball whenever a North Carolina team that's not UNC is doing well. Like, that's just the truth of me. But you cannot underestimate the fact that the ACC championship was UNC versus NC State, and there was probably a lot of people and a lot of casuals and some not casuals.
Yeah, I'm sure there's normal support section people who were there
that were planning on going to that game and then saw what the ACC championship was at the same time and didn't go.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's a small number. I think it's probably a large number of people.
Yeah.
And that doesn't discount the courage. It doesn't at all. It just speaks to the culture of North Carolina, the times we've gotten, because the Panthers ain't it. Panthers ain't winning shit. The Hornets ain't winning anything. Haven't for a long time. Won't for a long time. Hurricanes have great runs, and we see how Raleigh is when the Hurricanes are good.
Yes.
It's different. It goes from what was it, 2010 to 4 years ago?
It was 9 years of drought.
Yeah, awful. And no one gave a shit about the Hurricanes.
Nope.
And then Brendan Moore came in and we started getting good. People love the Hurricanes and they're into it again, right? But there is something, and it frustrates me, and it's not in my blood, but in a lot of people's blood around here, that if UNC, State, Duke are doing phenomenal in college basketball going into March Madness, that's what matters.
Yeah, you could be, like you said, your favorite team could be a different professional sport, but if you are a State fan, a Carolina fan, a Duke fan, and they're about to win an ACC championship, especially for State having not won one in 37 years.
Wow.
There was a lot of attention for that one.
I totally get.
So it's two sides. I bring it up only because I do understand the context of what was also happening that day, but at the same time, I think it is worth mentioning because it is a discussion that I think is worth always having. Why isn't this team packing it out as much?
Oh, for sure. And I think part of it's the market, part of it's where the stadium is. We all know that.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah,
the biggest thing is where the stadium is. It's garbage.
But again, I think it would have been a not much larger, but a lot larger crowd if that wasn't in instantaneous conflict with it, right?
Right.
And anybody who follows this sport can say, well, this is the most important thing, but it's the most important thing to you. And again, I don't care what's going on for an NCFC game, for something like that, I'm going to go. But I'm not fucking normal. I'm just not, right? And the two of you in this room, we're not normal when we talk about doing a podcast for second division team and a women's team in the NWSL. This is something we're passionate about, right?
Absolutely.
But you could still be fairly passionate about it, but you've been passionate your whole life about NC State or UNC. No one grew up loving the Courage unless they're 7.
Let's say we're
unless they're 7 now.
No, or unless you were the original one.
True.
Yeah. That's totally fair. You're right. And same thing with NCFC, right? They've been around for a number of years. They were in there when the Courage Gap happened and all that stuff. But in the same respect, you have to understand the climate of it. And I get the statement that Nate's made about being this is great, but we should be selling out. I agree with you, man.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like every time NCFC has a big game, it rains. Or it's bad weather. This is just the same thing. It was an unfortunate kind of clash of two things that people in this area care about a lot.
Absolutely.
Anything else for any of those games we want to wrap up before we do Ebony's 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon?
No, just their next game is away at Utah.
Yep.
I
think
Friday at 9. 8:30 at night.
There will be a watch party.
There is a
So
watch
do come
party
out.
with Uproar at Transfer Co.
Yep.
The new host of the NCFC Fam watch parties for the season. So please go out, watch the game with them, and enjoy some good food, some good drinks over at Transfer Co. I'm right here in downtown.
We had a small crowd for the NCFC first watch party there, but I think all of us could agree that the food was banging.
Yes.
There's a lot of great options. So, and Transfer Co was awesome in letting us and do that. And it's a cool little area that we can watch the games. And yeah, it's pretty rad. Definitely join those guys for the Courage watch party. Yeah. And let's hope that this weekend is our first 6-point weekend of the season.
That would be nice. That'd be a big one.
I know I didn't predict it, but I hope it.
I'm hoping
wrong.
for it.
Again, same. I think we're all in the same boat. But now we'll close it out with Ebony's 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
All right. I'm a soccer fan first and foremost, and it's Open Cup time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been phenomenal.
Don Garber's arch enemy, the Open Cup.
He is crying right now because all 3 MLS Next Pro teams lost on the first day, and it was glorious. Portland Timber 2 lost to a concept taco place out of San Diego.
Barria Burrito.
Farolito.
Oh yeah, El Farolito is
Yep.
that one. Austin lost.
And their supporters group is called Barria Burrito,
Yes.
which is fucking
It's
classic.
beautiful. I loved everything. How do you hate this tournament? Because it is glorious. Austin lost to 4-0 SC. After going 4-0 SC went down a man, scored within at the last kick of the game after extra time, and then won in penalties. Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Chattanooga lost 1-0. Fuck Chattanooga. Love that for me. It was just Vermont.
Vermont's
beat
a big one.
Lexington 4-3. That game was wild. They were lighting flares in the stands.
It was a packed crowd. I think it
The
was
ref
like
stopped the
7,000
game.
people. It was nuts.
They blew for final. They blew the final whistle 3 times because they were just like final full time, and they're like, actually, JK, let's keep going. And then they did it again. They're like, actually a little bit more, and then they finally did it. Players fans already ran onto the field, lighting flares, all that bullshit. It was so great. I loved it so much.
There's something going on right now.
Yes.
Shout out to them, though. I knew one of the founders of that club. He was originally back in the NASL days when the Rail Hawks were playing the Cosmos. He was one of the guys that started some Cosmos supporters groups. And it's great to see Vermont Green doing well. And that's a moment. That's a moment if you're a Vermont Green fan, you'll always remember. So,
No, absolutely.
awesome.
Bernie Sanders is on your side now.
I mean,
so
yeah,
what else can you do?
he had a whole production video. I don't know if he was sharing Vermont's or if he took a clip for them and narrated it and
Yeah.
I mean, hey, why not?
It's the magic of the cup.
The magic
man.
of the cup.
It's so great. But yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that was Ebony's 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. Again, Courage and NCFC both in action this weekend. Come watch a watch party at Transfer Co. if you're listening to this with Uproar. Come to Wakeman Soccer Park for sure on Saturday and cheer on NCFC against a hard game against Tampa Bay on Saturday at 7. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Before we head out,
Yep.
OCF's memberships are still available until the end of this month.
Let's go.
So you can get the new scarf designed by our one and only KP over here.
If you haven't seen it, there's a championship belt on the side.
On
Come
one side,
people.
there's a
On one
belt
side.
on one side
There's
and a burning ship on the
on
other.
a burning ship on the other side. It's amazing.
I'm so excited to own it. And Uproar memberships are available as well. And they start their new podcast as well for the Courage. It's Courage specific. So, we like to mix it up, but they're going to do just that one. And their first episode releases Thursday, I believe, is what I was told, the 21st. So check them out as well.
The Lions Pitch Podcast.
Right on.
Right on.
Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate you.
Free.
North Carolina, North Carolina.